What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new video. Today I'm going over some things you should consider before you lower your Harley Davidson, especially if you're thinking about going anything more than 1 inch. You got to watch this video. Number one is being ground clearance. Now I can really attest to this because when I lowered my bike that 2 inches, when I took that spill, I did not realize this until I was wiping down my bike like just a few days ago. I realized that there was a nice scrape on the primary side and even like one of the bolts that holds in the primary case. I think what had happened in that was I ran out of ground clearance when I was taking my left turn. I think the primary caught the ground, and I think that's what happened because prior to that, I can tell you I had never had any type of scratch there. When I got the bike from the original owner, it had never been dropped. I looked it over, but there was a definite ground clearance issue with being 2 inches lower. So if you're thinking about lowering your Harley Davidson, just remember the number one thing: ground clearance. That leads me to number two. Number two, the comfort of your bike. We got these bikes to be able to ride. So I found out very quickly how bad and how uncomfortable to ride this Harley 2 inches lower than stock. Any type of imperfection in the road, you feel it. From the tar snakes to a literal tiny bump in the road, and then obviously your dips. The suspension, there's just not enough travel. There's just not enough rebound in that. It doesn't rebound fast enough. You can't control that with some of these other suspensions. You really need to take into account how much riding you're going to do and how much riding you want to do, because I can tell you for a long time that I rode with 2 inches lowered, it was about a season and a half. That's almost 2 years, guys. There was so many times where I was on the bike and I was not happy. I was just like, damn, I want to get off because of how rough this feels. I don't want that anymore. This is exactly why I upgraded. I went back to stock height with that Legend suspension. Quick plug, if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It was my last video. I uploaded it like last week. It was pretty cool. Comfort will play the biggest part in lowering your Harley Davidson because you will feel all of the imperfections that the road has to offer to you when you lower your Harley Davidson. Now that we're done talking about comfort, that leads me to number three. Number three is going to be stability. Now, you would think that being low to the ground, you're going to be super stable at highway speeds, and that just is not the case, at least for me. Now, there are some factors that went into it for me. The suspension that I had in the rear were the Progressive 944 Ultra Lows, and I don't think that I had them set up super correct anyways. Mind you, I could not even compress that spring just sitting on it by myself. So I'm sure that played a factor. The stability is terrible. Slow speeds, yes, you're solid as a rock. You're upright. You feel like you got complete control. You feel like a boss whenever you're handling your bike at slow speeds. It's easier, you know, you feel safer. You're closer to the ground. You can handle it with more confidence that way. Highway speeds, forget about it. It's actually crazy how much I experienced the death wobble on this bike being 2 inches lower. Now, it wasn't like the super crazy amount that you guys have seen in YouTube videos. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be here. Let's just be honest. Anytime I would put some counter steering into the bar, I would feel that front wheel just want to do this just a little bit. So it really minimized how much I could even corner this bike. There are other ways to get a lower seat height and alleviate some of that height, and I will get into some of those here at the end. But if you're going to lower your Harley Davidson, I would highly suggest going 1 inch and nothing more than that. So now that we've already talked about what it's like with stability, highway speeds, slow speeds, let's get into your riding style, because that alone affects everything else too. Because if you want to ride aggressively, you can also forget about that, because you're going to be limited by ground clearance, stability, and by your comfort, because all of that is going to affect how confident and how comfortable you feel throwing your bike into a curve, you know what I mean? Or just taking a cruise, because it's not comfortable when you do that. And again, I'm speaking from 2 inches lower. Other people might have a completely different feeling of their bike being lowered. And again, I'm not 250 plus pounds, just my single person alone. I am less than 200 pounds. If you're a heavier person, this might work for you. So if you're a heavier person, that setup might be perfect just for you, because your body weight is actually going to compress some of those heavier weight springs that keep you super low. Now, I'm only of course talking about doing this on like a cholo style bike. I'm not talking about someone who's on a Dyna, because typically someone who's on a Dyna is gonna raise their suspension. You know, they're gonna go from, you know, 13 to a 14-inch shock because they want that extra ground clearance so that they can really throw their bike into the twisties, you know. I will tell you, it still looks amazing. You don't need to have a super low bike to have it look amazing. All right, so now that we've already went over ground clearance, some comfort, and the stability, as well as your riding style, here are a few other options that we're gonna get into that you can consider before you even think about lowering your Harley Davidson in terms of your suspension. Get a lower seat. There are so many seats out there on the market for Harleys, it's crazy, which is a great thing because there's almost a seat out there for everybody, right? There's so much out there, there's so much competition. Get a seat that sits you lower or closer, and some of those seats even do both. I've got the Saddleman step up on my Road King personally. It is the LS stitch, so it's got the diamond stitch front and back. I got the rider gel. I did opt for the extended reach, so it actually sits me back 2 inches, but it does sit you also lower about 1 inch compared to a stock Harley Davidson seat. It's also narrower, so instead of your legs being super wide out whenever you're coming to a stop, it brings your legs in, thus giving you more of a confident feel. Consider changing out your seat before you even touch your suspension. That brings me to, well, suspension. I would say if you absolutely need to lower your suspension, I would say it might be the best in terms of getting the best of both worlds with comfort, stability, and ride height would be Air Ride. I know Air Ride is very, very popular in terms of the Cholo / Vicla builds. I personally did not want to opt for that. I much rather prefer a traditional setup for suspension. I got the coils in the back, and then I've got, you know, your traditional type cartridge in the front. I did not want to do air suspension on this bike, as I think it causes more headaches than it might be worth. So that's just my opinion on that. I don't have any personal experience, but I have watched a lot of videos. I've seen a lot of Air Rides installed on bikes. It's just not something I necessarily want to do on my bike, but it is an option, and there's a lot of brands out there that offer Air Ride. There's American Suspension, there's Legend, they offer some Air Ride as well, and there's also the most famous one that I think we all know, which is Dirty Air. You just need to pick one and roll with it. Now that we've discussed an actual suspension, you know, upgrade or way to change your ride height, I am going to also suggest the type of shoes that you wear. I love to wear Vans or Chucks. Those offer no type of additional height. Opt for a boot. I've got a pair of Western style boots that I love to wear when I ride my Harley, and not only do they look good, because I mean they're boots, they just look good. If you can make it work, you know, opt for changing out your shoes once in a while. I can promise you, you're gonna feel a lot better whenever you do that. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Those are just a few things to consider before you lower your Harley Davidson, and I really hope you do take into account some of these things, as some of these are mainly a safety concern. Again, I went down and I really think that it was due to a ground clearance issue. So if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. That'd be sick. I would really much appreciate it, and don't forget to take care of yourself. Peace out.